All right. Okay. So good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us today as we highlight and discuss the variety of recent omnichannel marketing campaigns and trends, specifically focusing on some of the uses of QR codes. We will cover both the strategic and some of the executional elements of these campaigns. To help us do this, I'm really grateful to bring two awesome members of our community who will hopefully facilitate and guide this conversation. I'm excited for them to share some of their thoughts, experiences, and their recommendations with you. Let's just get started with some introductions. I'm Siobhan Dorks. I'm the president of the Advertising Production Club of New York. We are an organization that seeks to support students who are looking to enter the world of media, creative, and advertising. We also work with many, many other professionals who are already in the industry to support them with their continued education and provide them with the opportunities to meet peers and hopefully share experiences. We achieve these goals by providing educational events, a strong community foundation, and fundraising for both our scholarship fund as well as our specific internship programs. So like many organizations, we've obviously had to move to a much more online programming model in the last 10 months. But we have done all we can to continue to provide the valuable content and the conversations that we believe our community really wants to hear. And we're so grateful that you've joined us tonight for this one. As well as all the webinars that we host, hopefully some of which you've been to in the past, we have monthly virtual meetups, which are a great way to stay connected and to meet others in the community, whether that be you're a student, a young professional, or somebody who's been a part of the industry for a very long time, contributing for many years. So please keep an eye out for those and come and join us on one. So on to today's topic. I'm delighted to introduce both Lily Harder and Deborah Korn to you guys. Lily specializes in researching and presenting the latest industry trends, the competitive intelligence insights, and newsworthy developments in her role at Comperemedia. Her background in market research and consumer trends creates a very valuable lens through which marketers can better understand their audience and create, obviously, much more meaningful campaigns. Deborah wears many hats. Many of you will know her as the intergalactic ambassador of the Printerverse. But to give you just a little more context, she's an industry speaker, a blogger, hosts various podcasts, and as well as the founder of both the Print Media Centre and Project Peacock. She's also been an APC board member for several years and continues to work tirelessly to support our community in so many ways. I always love passing the floor to Deborah, as I know the conversation will be full of value and definitely full of magic. So Deborah, over to you.
Thank you so much. If I can just carry you around to introduce me everywhere I ever speak, I would appreciate that.
You remember the moment in A Knight's Tale where the guy like comes on and does the beginning bit of the...
Yes. Poor Bethany does it. Yes, no, it's perfect. But now I don't want to sing, she's presenting a webinar. Well, thank you so much for the introduction and for the continued support and partnership from the Advertising Production Club of New York. All my people who came in because you're connected with me, if you're not connected with them, you're missing out. They've got social media. They've got very, very affordable ways for you to partner with them and sponsor events and get some information about your company to their audience. So connect with Siobhan. And one of the things that we are continuing to do in partnership this year is Project Peacock, which is a show and tell of all the amazing new opportunities that there are through print marketing, and marketing technology. We're going to have 4 events with the APC this year. They're all going to be virtual, which means everybody can attend. You'll have enough lead time to get samples from everybody who's going to join us. And if you are out there, if you're a vendor, a paper person, have a marketing technology, get in touch with me and I'll figure out how to get you involved. If you're a printer, get in touch as well, because possibly a printer fair or is coming along towards the end of the year. So thank you so much, Siobhan, for that. Just wanted to let everybody know. And you can find everything at printmediacenter.com. There's a link over to Project Peacock. For this event, when it came to kicking off the APC's programming for the year, there was no better person to represent pretty much how we can all get our ducks in a row as far as understanding what consumers want. You know, printers and the printing industry and the also, you know, producers and creatives and marketers. It's one thing to get a creative brief. It's another thing to understand, you know, the use of it and then the possible secondary use of it. And that is really where Lily comes in. Lily has been invaluable educating the printerverse with research that honestly nobody gets unless you're a giant corporation. So we are very fortunate that we get to get literally research from last month, consumer research that no one else has. And the information that Lily provides allows us to think creatively and strategically about how to best communicate our messages and engage with our audiences. So without further ado, thank you guys all so much. And Lily, I will turn this over to you. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you both so much for the introduction. Love the introductions. Like I said, I wish Deborah could follow me around and intro me as well. Yeah, so happy to be here. So happy to speak about this. And as Deborah mentioned, this is something that we do for many clients, large Fortune 500 clients, really bringing insights into, as she said, what consumers want and why. So just for today's session, what I'm really going to talk about is the idea of marketing holistically, but then narrowing it down to interactive marketing, kind of what that means, what it's going to look like, and definitely some print elements to that as well. And all of this is really within our wheelhouse of information. For anyone that's not familiar, I'm just going to give a quick overview of my organization. So Mintel is really the parent company. Actually, we're headquartered in the UK, but we have locations all across the globe, spanning dozens of countries, and we are a global market research firm. So we have a variety of products and services, everything ranging from consumer reports, where we're actually doing primary research and understanding consumer behaviors and preferences, and really how they're feeling and why they're making the purchasing decisions that they are. So a lot on the consumer, but we also have a ton on the marketing. And so we have multiple products dedicated specifically to monitoring the marketing across literally every media channel that's out there. So we have a couple platforms for that as well. So that's really what's going to go into the session today. And I can explain a little bit more at the end further about what we do and how to learn more if you're interested on getting to a deeper level with some of these insights. But I will just start off by going into, you know, what we as advertisers, we as marketers, and really we as consumers need to understand when it comes to engaging with brands. And, you know, it goes without saying that we've had a pretty crazy year. You know, if we're not tired of hearing about COVID or dealing with COVID, I mean, I think it's ever present. But beyond, you know, the all-consuming aspect of the virus itself, it has changed so many ways in which consumers shop, in which they engage with brand, and really the way that they expect brands to engage with them and to communicate. This is a cartoon from Tom Fishburne. He's one of my favorites. He's a marketoonist. He has so many great comics, but I love this one because it is really speaking to the inherent craziness that we've experienced, where we really had to pivot on a dime to figure out how to engage with people this year differently than we ever had before. And it's really changed the rules of marketing and changed the name of the game. So what I want to go through today, So I do want to talk about sort of what we think is going to happen in 2021. We love making predictions. We love getting really nerdy about marketing trends. So a look into what we think is going to happen in the next year and beyond. Of course, I want to give some insights on what consumers are thinking and feeling right now. And then I just like giving some examples of what we at Comperemedia consider to be best in class examples of how to create interactive marketing and marketing that truly resonates with consumers today. So in terms of what we think is happening, again, this is really holistically speaking from the overall marketing world. We think there are a few things that are going to be happening that you should be watching out for and keeping an eye on. So one is video. Video is huge right now. It's definitely going to take center stage and could be sort of the cornerstone of a multi-channel marketing mix. We're also seeing brands start to embrace more niche audiences. So, we've seen brands try to, appeal to everybody or mass marketing, that types of thing. We're going to really see that narrowed down. Brands honing in on who their audience is and tailoring the message very uniquely to them. We're definitely seeing connections at the local level. That's something the pandemic brought to light, is the need for community, but also supporting locally, maybe not as much mass merchandiser type of shopping. So that connection at the community level, and then podcasts and influencers. These are channels that we're continuing to track and monitor because they are playing larger roles in the marketing mix, and with good reason. So let's talk about video taking center stage. Again, just to put some numbers behind what we're seeing and why we know that this is going to be such a key area for marketers right now. Just because of what happened with the pandemic and throughout 2020, we're really going to continue to see increases in video due to all the streaming, at-home video growth, and just more brands really tailoring their brand identities to meet the needs of consumers right now. So we're seeing online video is up 60% across multiple industries year over year. This is amazing, spend on YouTube increased nearly 350% year over year for some of the top advertisers. That's just enormous growth. And then just the growth rate for video alone, nearly 30% in 2020 compared to other channels like banner ads. So we're seeing the growth there. The numbers are proving it. The other noteworthy thing is that because COVID disrupted production studios so much with so lockdowns and social isolation, we're seeing more animation-based video campaigns rising to the surface and cropping up. So socially distanced approach, but still keeping video campaigns fresh and up to date. So, the benefits of video is it's not only an effective storytelling tool, but it's really a way for marketers to communicate very complex information in a simple and easy to digest form. And that's really what the purpose TV has served for so long. And video is doing that in new and unique ways. So we're really going to see video serving at every stage of the marketing funnel in the near future. So thinking about embracing more niche audiences, this is another area we're starting to see pick up. So one of the reasons is that a lot has happened culturally and within society. And unfortunately, one of the byproducts of the last year and beyond has been a lot of division among consumers and among our society. But that also is creating more unique subgroups of consumers. So whether you want to call those communities or consumers with like interests, or what we're sort of seeing is a rise in the idea of fandom. And reaching those sub-communities on more of like a cultural level. So it's being culturally relevant today is not just about following what's happening culturally, it's about actually creating the culture. So we think brands are going to be leveraging this idea of fandom to really gain access to and engage with these growing communities, and eventually seeing brands embrace more of these niche audiences in order to drive authentic engagement. So I'll kind of explain what I mean by that. One example of this, of course, is TikTok. So TikTok's user base just exploded in 2020, and brands are not only advertising on the platform, but they're using this cultural phenomenon to drive the creative strategy and sort of be the guidepost of its creative across other media channels as well. Just one example of this happening, of course, is the popularity of Animal Crossing. I just found this so fascinating that it's a video game, has attracted the likes of many brands who are utilizing this very popular interactive game as a way to get their brand out there. So Ally Bank did this to talk about their investment platform capabilities. The Detroit Lions actually released their schedule, their season schedule on Animal Crossing. And it really just was a way to engage in a unique way in a location where many consumers were clearly spending a lot of time while they were socially distanced and isolated. So this idea of fandom and creating content in these mini sub-communities is going to be interesting to keep an eye on. And thinking about locality. So again, reaching consumers at the local level, or at least showing your support for local communities and local commerce. So we're seeing brands already implementing a more local ad buy approach. And rather than targeting high populated regions, we're seeing brands focusing on more smaller states, local news stations, as a way to, again, connect to those smaller, more niche audiences. Also as a way to just show that they're supporting community. That's a big part of it. American Express has done this for a long time with their Shop Small initiatives, but we're even seeing it from like Geico, Hi Neighbor, just having that vernacular of being a little bit more close to home and a little bit more community focused. And the numbers are showing this movement as well, seeing targeting in more of the smaller states and the local news sources. So that's really an area that I think is going to continue. And then finally, too, just another sort of trend to keep an eye on and area to think of as you're maybe contemplating a shift in your marketing mix or even trying new channels in your marketing mix, podcasts and influencers. So this is an area that also continues to see growth. Interestingly, what we found in our data, and again, this is from our primary research where we're surveying consumers across the country, we found that actually podcasts and influencer ads are more highly correlated with purchase behaviors. So podcasts is rapidly growing media. It's gaining many new listeners and advertisers every year. And we're showing, what the data shows is that consumers who recall an ad across multiple channels, those who recalled ads over the last 7 days from podcasts or social media influencers were more likely to say that they were either considering a purchase because of that or had already made a purchase because of that ad. So just really interesting that ad recall was driving more of that purchase behavior. So again, podcasts and influencers, another area that's really going to start to round out that marketing mix. And we're definitely going to see some more noise in those areas. So let's talk a little bit about the consumer. As we said, that's sort of what we specialize in, is understanding what the consumer wants and why. And so it is really important to understand how behaviors and preferences and just emotional toll everyone is going through because of the last year, or maybe beyond the last year. So what's really changed with consumers today and maybe your target audience? So one, of course, the pandemic will continue to leave lasting scars. We are not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. Technically, we're not in a recession anymore, but certainly feels like we're in a recession. Holistic well-being, holistic wellness is becoming a very key driver in purchase decisions, and that goes along with just emotions. People are becoming much more open about talking about their emotions and recognizing that emotions play such a role in the purchase decision process. Thinking mobile first, not mobile only. So this is also an area I continue to talk about, just thinking about the online and offline mix, whether it's your marketing mix or how you actually engage or through which channels you engage with your customers. That's really important. Of course, everything has to have a mobile component, but it's okay to switch off. It's okay to turn off the devices. In fact, there's somewhat of a demand for that, and I'll talk about that. And then values and ethics. This is a big area that's seen a lot of growth and really, really should be a core focus for marketers out there in how values and ethics are really shaping brand identities. And again, there's this expectation for that to come out in the marketing. So let's just talk about sort of what's happening, the mindset. This is not news to anybody. I'm sure we're all saying, yes, we've been talking about the pandemic endlessly, but there's a reason for that. It's creating such a impact on everyday lives, and concerns over exposure to the virus, of course, are really high, but just the overall lifestyle changes. Everyone's lives changed somehow. And I always, my favorite analogy, and everyone, in the beginning was saying, we're all in this together, and talking about getting through this together. Well, yes, we're kind of all in this together, but we're going through it in very different situations. So we're all riding out the same storm, but we're all in very different boats trying to get through this very large storm. And consumers are worried. I would say still close to half of consumers worried about exposure, worried about the impact on their overall lifestyle. But even just doing a Google search of, do I have, really, you can see what the most searched for terms are. And it's just frightening to see that this is really what's so top of mind for people right now, these concerns, whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally, physically, all of these are coming into play, and everyone is trying to find a way to process that. So stress, anxiety, this is really tugging at everyone right now. Because of this, I think it's really important for brands to not only acknowledge it, and that doesn't mean you have to come up with a solution for it. It doesn't mean you have to tell consumers what to do or try to fix the problem. But I think there's value in recognizing that it's there. There's value in recognizing that everyone's situation is unique. And I think there's just going to be value in in acknowledging that the future is unpredictable. There's no way to know when we're going to get the virus contained. There's no way to know when we're going to sort of get past this. We at Mintel like to, we don't use the word normal. We don't use new normal. We actually like to call it the next normal, because you have to think of normalcy as this continually evolving target. And what might feel like normal today, which, for me is still homeschooling the kids. And in our community, there's, still takeout, not going to restaurants, but, that might not feel normal in 6 months from now. And what feels normal 6 months after that is going to be very different. So we have to really acknowledge that the idea of normal is going to continue to evolve and fluctuate. So brands really need to be agile enough to adapt to those changes. That's a big part of it. I mentioned the think mobile, not mobile only. This is where I really want to get into the value of those tactile channels. Of course, this is why I think print and direct mail is still such a key component of the marketing mix, is that there is still quite a large demand among consumers to disconnect sometimes, being able to get off our devices, get off of technology. I think I read somewhere a meme that was like, I use my little screen while I'm watching my big screen when I'm taking a break from working on my medium screen. We're just constantly inundated with screens. And so I thought it was interesting that in some of our health related consumer data that we did, we found that so maybe surprising to some, that actually consumers are looking to reduce their technology, but not only that, more so younger consumers are looking for ways to reduce technology as part of their health and wellness goals moving forward. So that's really interesting. More than half of millennials and Gen Z looking to reduce their technology time, and also more likely than older consumers to want to spend more time outdoors. This data was pre-pandemic, but I still think it's really relevant, because when you think of how that's going to change now after social distancing and lockdowns and all of this is all going to be even more accelerated, even more, I would say, exacerbated because of this, where people are trying to disconnect, and there's going to be a lot more craving for those social interactions, and just really kind of getting back to nature. The last area I want to talk about among consumers and really understanding what's important, and this is a very key area, and we can spend time to talk about this if that's what the group wants to do, but we are definitely seeing, because of many issues that have bubbled to the surface, especially recently, consumers are saying that they're really welcoming and even expecting marketers to take a stand. So our data shows that nearly half of consumers in the 18 to 34 age range believe that brands and companies have a responsibility to work toward a solution for racial and gender equity. And this is just demonstrating that brands really have to decide if they're going to remain neutral as a way to not alienate, or if they're going to speak up and pick a side on a potentially controversial or alienating issue. And so, there's a lot of talk with brands having a very well-established brand or mission, and that's great. That's a great start. But then you also have to follow it with actions, actions that connect to very specific organizations, actions that maybe financially contribute to organizations, or maybe actions to get more support for those issues and for those causes. So, brand ethics, corporate donations, all of that has mass appeal, and really just a surge in social awareness and consumer activism that we've seen over the last year is really going to drive a lot of the marketing that we're seeing from brands. And we're definitely seeing some creative approaches to this. Many have not been shy at all about making this a key part of their marketing efforts. Really, the big message here is that brands need to ensure that there really are some concrete, either charitable actions being taken, so as not to be called out for just, making it a PR play. We really have to be careful to put actions behind those words, and I can't stress that enough. Just a couple examples of this in action, because again, it's interesting to see how other brands are doing this. A couple that I thought were noteworthy over 2020. Chime is one. Chime is one of these fintech startups, neobank type of offerings, and they're really trying to recognize people who are going above and beyond to change their communities for the better. Again, this overlaps with the idea of local and community-centric marketing. So they launched this Change Makers initiative that's aiming to recognize and reward people who are going above and beyond in their local community, and awarding them with $10,000. And so you can nominate a change maker, and you can do this by Instagram or Twitter. And they were running many display ads and banner ads and promotions on their site to promote this initiative. So I thought that was one creative way that, again, sort of combined the being supportive and then also having that local approach. Sephora as well. Sephora allowed customers to use their points to turn those points into donations, specifically for the National Black Justice Coalition. So people can use their rewards, and it's definitely recognizing and promoting the partnership, but then giving those customers a chance to also participate. And so National Black Justice Coalition is a civil rights organization that empowers Black members of the LGBTQ community. And then we've seen some other organizations partnering with them as well. So you can go into your accounts and then pick sort of how many points you want to use for different denominations to make a donation. So another clever way to, again, get people involved. And then finally, just talking about the marketing itself, what are we seeing? What's out there that's really making an impact? So as I mentioned, with Comperemedia, we are a media monitoring platform.
Lily?
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I just wanted to, I had a little bit of a microphone issue, but I just wanted to say one more thing about the brand activism
please.
that you mentioned. Something that I have been finding is that when there are brands that have taken a significant stance, like let's think about a Ben & Jerry's, let's think about a Nike, they're taking significant stances on things. They are also now making sure that everybody they work with down the line is aligned with them, so they do not get caught up in any sort of PR nightmare that some vendor down the way, was not aligned with them. So if you're out there and you work with brands, just make sure that you are minding all of that, so you do not get caught up in somebody's, sending a tweet that, sets off the world. Thank you, Lily.
Yeah, that's an absolutely great point. Thank you for that. So yeah, I mean, just in thinking about what is resonating in the marketing, and again, we are monitoring actual campaigns that come in. We're tracking campaigns. We can even track how much brands are spending on campaigns in different channels. It's really interesting to see the creativity that we saw come out over the last year, especially when it comes to interacting and engaging with customers. But there are some rules, there are some things to follow and to think about as you're trying to come up with a more interactive type of campaign. And that is one, how are you going to get the channels of your marketing mix to connect to each other? So they're not kind of siloed or carbon copies of each other. So connecting the channels is really important. And that's really where print and digital can come together. And then doing more beats learning more. I get frustrated when I see advertisements that say, learn more here. And then that's kind of it. And I say, I read all day long. You didn't offer me anything extra. So I'll show some examples. If you can actually provide value above and beyond just information, that goes a long way. Time is a commodity. This is where you really have to think about, you're asking for a lot of time. When someone has the attention span of a goldfish these days, really, when you're creating a campaign, especially in a medium like print, you're asking for a lot of time. So make the most of it and maybe try to elongate it as much as possible. And then just leave a lasting impression. That's really the name of the game. And there's so many ways to do that now, in a way that kind of sparks an idea, sparks a trigger, an action, or creates a lasting memory. So some examples of what we've seen. Again, I've been speaking about QR codes for a long time now. Deborah knows I'm a big QR fan, and I've been bullish on them for a really long time. And I keep saying they're finally having their moment. 30 years later, they were invented 30 years ago in Japan. But they're having their moment, and marketers are really starting to finally see the value in the contactless connection capability, especially when we're in this sort of no-touch germophobic mindset right now. So we're seeing that being incorporated again. Think about someone sitting in front of their TV, probably also scrolling their phone at the same time. Well, Hulu on the left here launched a commercial format that encouraged customers to redeem an offer that they saw on the screen using the QR code. And so this ad experience really enabled viewers to sort of connect their devices and also not just learn more about a company or product, but maybe even make a purchase. And it also is sort of minimizing the risk that an interested viewer would become distracted after they see an ad and then actually take action on it. It sort of creates more of a real-time trigger to take the next step towards the purchase process. So, interactive ads like these provide really a wealth of information to advertisers, including what types of consumers are engaging with their brands, just being able to dip into a lot of that technology. And then, QR codes just in general, we're seeing them, of course, in at the point of sale, at brick and mortar locations, in restaurants. I think we're seeing the tip of the iceberg of what's possible and connecting that printed medium with the digital medium. Some other examples, again, so direct mail, just again as background, Comperemedia was really founded on direct mail. Direct mail was our flagship channel. Our CEO reminds us of the days, 20 plus years ago when he literally was driving his car across the country with bags and bags of people's mail. And then we were just collecting the mail and analyzing what brands were sending in the mail. Now we have much more intelligent methodologies behind our process, but we actually have people sending us thousands and thousands of mail campaigns that we process and analyze, and you can view some here. And we've seen some really unique uses of QR codes, and it kind of runs the spectrum. So on the left here, this is kind of a standard insurance campaign that we picked up from Travelers and Geico, actually. But it really was just a notification letter, and it offered their own QR code where a customer could use this to either log in or sign up. I think it was fine. It's a great use to connect someone to their account. There's definitely friction if you don't have an account established. It's kind of annoying to set a new one up. I like that they use their little umbrella in the logo. Okay, you can get kind of creative with that. So that's one use. This offer in the middle is one of my more favorite ones. This is from Synchrony Bank, where they're offering a money market account. So it's an interest-based financial product. And as we know, interest rates fluctuate quite frequently. So what they did, instead of actually stating the rate on the money market account in print, which takes at least 30 days from production to get to someone's mailbox, and the rate may have changed by then, instead of putting a rate on there, they put the QR code so someone could scan it to find the most real-time rate on the product that was being offered. So another way to sort of skip any potential frustration frustration of a customer not getting what was actually offered because of time sensitivity. And then on the right here too, we all get statements. I know there's so much pressure to switch to paperless statements, and I'm such a creature of habit. I still get so many paper statements because I need the physical reminder on my desk. I need the stack of bills so I can know that I've checked them off, and that's just me. But I thought this was clever, where the Wayfair credit card statement from Community Bank came with a QR code where you could actually scan the code, and there was no login. It recognized the person's account and the account number. Now, you had to have an account already established, but once you do, you can literally click on the code, click on the amount due button and hit submit. There's no additional, loading bank account information or additional friction to the process. So putting that there made for very easy payment capabilities. Thinking about, again, just adding value more so than just learn more. We're seeing QR codes in the credit card space used a lot more frequently these days. It really is becoming a popular way for consumers, prospects to actually apply for a new credit card. You don't have to fill out that form anymore. Even avoiding the step of having to go to a dedicated website, now you can scan a QR code and apply for a credit card, sometimes being approved within less than a minute. But this one I thought was interesting because this is a offer from Delta for their Sky Miles, really trying to encourage friend referrals. So again, another tactic that we've seen and can sometimes be very successful. So this was a way to refer friends using the QR code, which, sometimes that can be tricky. Sometimes you don't want to bombard your friends with email or, kind of give away your friends' information. So again, this just kind of made the process a little bit easier, and there's a reward and incentive in it for both the person referring and the person being referred. So that's a way to add a little bit of value. I think I have one more. This wasn't a QR code example, but I kind of like this one. It used like a mobile tag. So this is a little bit tricky because it's not as familiar for consumers as a QR code is nowadays. And now with especially the latest iOS, you can read a QR code from your camera, and not all mobile tags are readable from a iPhone camera. But I just thought this was somewhat clever, where Honda was actually following up with customers who had had a recent visit and had their car service or something like that, and really just offering an easy way to schedule the next appointment. So saying thank you for your business, and even having a personalized touch, because I had the picture of the person's car. You can, if you know the information on your customer, you should easily be able to print their car, their model on your campaign, and then just making it so easy to ensure that next visit, ensure the next appointment. And again, triggering action before they forget about it and it becomes out of sight, out of mind. So think about those triggers. Think about those things, not only the what you can use with the data and information you have on your customers, but how you can use that to really ensure the next engagement. One of the shifts that we really saw, again, of course, because of COVID, was the lack of brick and mortar shopping. And so we saw some really interesting pivots from brands trying to make the best of a bad situation of people not feeling comfortable coming to the store. And I thought this was really clever, where Ashley Furniture Store is a really large, massive national furniture retailer, really tried to reimagine the shopping experience in this COVID era. So they sent out postcards, and we know that this campaign was successful because they ran it for a long time. We saw a lot of spend behind this postcard. So again, we can make that assumption that this was proving to be a good strategy for Ashley Furniture. What I really like about this is one, they have a QR code, so you can see that on the top, where you can book an appointment at a store nearest you. So we're now in sort of this appointment culture, appointment era, where I think that's becoming expected to have that opportunity, and to do so with the QR code makes it a lot easier. But I also liked on the flip side of the postcard at the bottom there, you can see they call it Shop Your Way, and they're just providing so many options. They're providing so much flexibility, everything from FaceTime, Facebook Messenger, Slack, GChat, and Zoom. So 5 different channels through which you can communicate with them. And then what I did is I actually scanned the QR code, and what you can see is a screenshot of what my phone looks like, and it just immediately sends the text And then you can set up the in-store appointment. And again, more options. You can do an in-store appointment or a virtual consultation where someone like walks you around on video. So many clever, creative ways to make the shopping experience as convenient and comfortable for whoever that customer may be, whatever their situation might be. I have a couple more. I don't want to spend, let's see, I'll do a couple more. This was just a clever, I call this a long-winded campaign. Here, I'll start here. This was a long-winded campaign from United Healthcare, but I think it works because what they did is they're reaching out to their health insurance members with tips. We see this a lot, tips and tricks for staying healthy, just trying to add value to to insurance policy holders. But I thought it was sort of like a little booklet, and I thought it was clever that part of these tips was staying active, being positive, eating healthy, but they also provided games. So when you think about the value of time that someone spends with a campaign, we've even seen this from some direct-to-consumer brands like Casper Mattresses did this, where they're sending direct mail campaigns with crossword puzzles in them that I thought was very clever. This was a long one. This had Sudoku. This had coloring pages, starting a gratitude journal. Gratitude journals are really big right now, especially, in the new year with New Year's resolutions. Word searches. I mean, I probably would have ended up tearing some of these out and just giving them to my kids. But again, just ensuring a little bit more time is spent with a campaign. There are ways to do that. And again, thinking about those people that are looking for ways to disconnect and kind of take a mental break. These sorts of activities seem trite, but they actually are a way to get more of that tactile connection. This is another example that I wanted to show when I mentioned enhancing the senses or tapping into the senses. I thought this was so funny, to be honest. So this came from American Express, and if anyone has experienced the American Express Centurion Lounge, it's sort of their high-end premium lounge in airports. Apparently, they have a signature scent. So it mixes pink peppercorn and lavender and leather and bergamot or something. It's a signature scent that they've created, and it's present in all of their lounges. So when you enter this lounge at the airport, it has the same smell, no matter what airport you're in, what country, city or country you're in. And so what they did is they recently were sending promotional mailers promoting its platinum card and talking about the lounge collection. And the piece itself actually included a scratch and sniff section. So you had to open a door, you had to like rub on it to kind of activate the scent. And then when you did, you would get that exact same scent. And it really connected the experience of the campaign with also being in the lounge. Or, if you haven't experienced it yet, maybe it gives you a little bit of a taste of what it will be. So, I'm not saying that you have to, go back to the days of magazines with the perfumes, but again, an interesting way to make that connection in another way that leaves sort of that lasting memory.
Wait, I'm going to chime in just for 1 second.
Please.
If you take Lily's advice and start using smelly stuff, just make sure you go to the post office, your friend at the marketing office in the post office, and make sure they're cool with it. Sometimes you need to put it in a wrapper so people actually can't smell it unless they activate it. Thank you.
Yeah, good point. Because yes, some people are very sensitive to smells. So tread cautiously. I wanted to just end this section because I know we're also nearing the top of the hour. Really quick brand spotlight. So this is sort of just a multi-channel look at what one brand did over 2020, very high level view, and that's Mint Mobile. So this is a cellular provider, but many of you may know Mint Mobile as being the Ryan Reynolds cell phone company. So Ryan Reynolds, I think, owns it. I could be wrong about that, but definitely involved. And so what we saw is we actually could see a correlated rise in interest for the brand Mint Mobile relative to the marketing that they were doing in the marketing spend, and really successfully drove interest in the brand over the course of 2020 and their response to the pandemic. So what you're seeing here, this is just a Google Trends search of interest in Mint Mobile, people that were looking at it, and that definitely grew over the year. So this is just like a social media carousel from them, but they use other channels as well. And we definitely saw an uptick with their marketing correlated to the surge that we saw previously, specifically in September and November. Marketing spend really started increasing in September. And this was around the time that they enlisted Rick Moranis for some of its commercials, announcing their unlimited plans. And then Rick Moranis was also featured in their national TV and online video ads. So he was a key component, you know, very well-known celebrity. They also had a national TV spot that was highlighting various new offers. I thought what was really funny is they kind of leaned into some very creative TV offers. In fact, there was this holiday spot that featured Ryan Reynolds really poking fun and making fun at other cellular competitors that they were spending so much on their holiday marketing, and his was literally just, you know, him in front of a green screen. So it was kind of, brought the humor in. Everyone was in need of some humor by the end of the year. So they did some of that in TV. Now, I just thought there were some other creative ways that they were also engaging, that they were interacting in new ways besides, you know, the snark and the humor. So again, keeping with the Ryan Reynolds theme, which clearly is winning for them, keeping him front and center in the marketing, they really kind of read the room when it came to responding to the pandemic. So in March, one of the things they did actually is they announced free unlimited data for their customers because of the pandemic. And they had Ryan Reynolds actually leaving voicemails for their customers. Now, it's probably a pre-recorded thing, but their customers received a voicemail from Ryan Reynolds on their phone announcing the change in the plan or change in unlimited data. In May, they debuted an ad in the middle there where Reynolds was actually showcasing that first TV ad with the company. But he kind of makes fun about the fact that he had this huge, momentous, like expensive campaign planned, and then it got derailed by the pandemic. And instead, he just created one like epic slide, a PowerPoint slide that he pulls up on his own laptop. And, you know, it becomes very sort of last minute ditch effort ad. So clever, creative. And then finally in December, I love this, where they sent customers through the mail their holiday card. And really what it was a photo of Ryan Reynolds with a very unconventional holiday card message, which says, "Cheery and bright have taken the year off, introducing the 2020 appropriate, reflective, and moody Mint mobile holiday card." So again, just acknowledging what I think a lot of people were feeling in how to approach the holidays in light of everything that was happening. So that was a very brief Mint Mobile spotlight. Again, I just want to come back to those key themes I talked about with the idea of interacting in a very meaningful way. So thinking about how the channels are going to connect with each other, work with each other. How can you add value? If you're going to use a QR code, providing more than just information, actually providing a trigger to an action or providing value above and beyond maybe what the product itself is. Understanding that time is a commodity. We have very little of it from our customers, fractions of a second sometimes. So if you can elongate the time, that's definitely in your favor. And then thinking about how to leave that lasting impression, how to be that campaign that your customers are going to talk about and share and literally want to become viral. So those are some really fun ways to think about interactive marketing. If you're interested in some of the data and insights that I talked about today and want to learn more, again, what we do at Mintel and at Comperemedia, we can help you spend smarter, not more. Again, we have all these metrics on what the competitive environment is doing. So we really are here to help our clients find opportunities to stand out in the crowd. We are very insight-driven, data-backed with our research, and we really are here to provide customers with the way to create those campaigns that are going to resonate, that are going to make an impact. So again, I mentioned all the products that we have here. A lot of what you saw today came from our Omni Platform. This is our newest offering, which is our holistic media monitoring tool. We are literally capturing the marketing across so many channels, 20 real-time channels. So these are all the channels that we have access to. We're pulling the campaigns, we're pulling the metrics. We're really reading and understanding what brands are doing and who's standing out and how to do it better and how to compete with what's out there. So if you're interested in learning more, want to hear more about what we do or other kinds of research that we have, I definitely encourage you to reach out. I always like to give a little bit of a freebie giveaway. This is a fun report we published pretty recently, just looking at very innovative direct mail across 2020. So I'm giving this report away if anyone would like to view it. Yes, $2,500 value this report usually sells for. So if you do want to find out more and receive your free copy of Innovative Direct Mail in 2020, please reach out to my colleague, David. He's amazing. He can give you more information about our services. He can even do a demo of our site, of that Omni platform and all of those channels I was talking about. So definitely encourage you to reach out. I know I'm going to leave this slide up. Everyone usually wants me to leave this up.
Yeah, they usually panic if you take it down.
I'll leave this up, and then Deborah, if there are questions, we can start to go through some of those maybe.
Okay, the first question, I'm not exactly sure if you're the right person to answer this, but maybe you have some insight in some way. And this is from Allison, and she was wondering if there are any recommendations or perhaps in your research, you've come across a company that had good local support and was trying to scale nationally. Have you seen examples of marketing on how they've been successful at reaching out concentric circles, I guess?
That's a very good question. I have not, I don't have one at the tip of my fingers, but I'll think about it. If it comes to mind and I ask my team and they think of something, that's a great question. I think doable. You see so many startups, DTC brands, but a lot of those DTC brands really start kind of with brand awareness nationally. So you don't see as much of the local expanding nationally, but that's a great question. I'll look into it.
Yeah, it's a little more in the marketing director, marketing strategic account management than research, but they're symbiotic. So I think that's why the question was answered.
Absolutely.
Asked, excuse me. Okay. This is one you get all the time. So but I'm going to ask it anyhow. Lily, do you have any metrics that show the success of the campaigns that used QR codes and direct mail? Like, do they get more responses than ones that don't have interactive capabilities?
So so I'll answer in two parts. One, no, we don't track response metrics. Again, that having the response metrics of campaigns would literally be the holy grail of marketing. I mean,
that's what Louise said too.
No one is going to, no one's going to give us their information, nor can we access it. But what we can do is we make a lot of assumptions based on our data. So we can make the assumption that most intelligent brands would not continue to run a campaign month after month after month if it's not successful and driving traffic. So we do make those assumptions, and we can look at longevity of campaigns. We also look at spend. So again, we do see how much brands are spending on a campaign and whether that spend is going up or whether that spend is going down or whether that spend is transferring maybe to a different, newer campaign. So we can make a lot of very accurate assessments about campaigns. Now with the QR code, again, because we don't have the exact metrics behind that, we can't make a blanket statement that QR code will automatically boost your response. But we have definitely seen anecdotal examples and heard anecdotal examples where when used correctly, not only can a QR code increase traffic, but it provides a lot of information behind that traffic.
Yeah.
And where that traffic came from, and who that person is that's responding through the QR code.
A lot of people don't, think of it that way, but the purpose of the QR code is actually for all the data you get about who scanned it when. There are really interesting things you can do about delivering people information at certain points of the day. For example, if they're standing in front of McDonald's, at noon, they offer you a hamburger, but at 8 o'clock in the morning, they offer you an egg McMuffin. So that there's very interesting things to do there. Okay. Most people do not realize that phones, Jack Lacken made a great point of why is there an uptick in QR codes? First of all, you don't need to download an app anymore. Phones have scanners. All the phones now pretty much read them. The other thing to your point, Lily, you're seeing an uptake in the market which means they're working for somebody. But it's because the minute somebody scans something, that advertiser owns them. That's why they want you to use a QR code. It's really amazing. Okay. I don't see another question, but I actually had one, if you would indulge me. I was really interested in what you said about brands coming from out of the stratosphere and going really locally and targeting regions or groups and in that way, and tying into the diversity kind of aspect of it. Are you noticing, or are you doing any research as far as that local coming down to different versions of languages, or are we still focused only on English?
Definitely see multilingual campaigns. I would say Spanish language campaigns continuing to grow, or combination of such. We track marketing in Canada as well, so the French and English is everywhere.
Oh yes, of course.
But yeah, I would say I haven't looked recently as far as share of campaigns with Spanish language on them, if that has increased. But I think that part of the trend of becoming more local and trying to tap into subgroups, be it demographically defined subgroup or culturally defined subgroup, that language will automatically adapt to what that is. So I have to assume that that's going to pick up. But I think, yeah, a lot of that really depends on the location, the target audience, and understanding what the need is.
Interesting. Luis would like to know, can a printer work with Comperemedia? You're
Of course.
Really? Yeah.
Can a printer?
Like a printer, like leverage you somehow.
Well, anyone can work with. We're happy to work with anybody.
Mind. You can.
Yes, we're happy to work with anybody. Again, what we really provide are the insights and the data. So yes, we work with print houses, we work with agencies, we work with brands across the board. So yes, absolutely. If you're interested to learn more, we have a very wide sliding scale of engagement opportunities, be it one-off reports to full scale, full service consultancy and beyond. So absolutely reach out. Would be happy to put you in touch with the right people, and always happy to show off what we can do.
Well, I'm so happy now, because I thought we were all out of your reach, but now that I know we're within your reach, I'm going to start sending a lot of people your way, Lily.
Oh yeah.
Thank you everybody so much for attending. Comments, I'm sure you could see the chat now. You could turn off your screen if you want and see it. People really like the presentation, Lily, as always. Get in touch with Lily, connect with her on LinkedIn, email her. I can't thank you enough. I want to thank the APC so much for inviting us to come here and share. And with that, I'm going to turn off the webinar. And Lily, just thank you once again. And everybody, print long and prosper out there.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.